Golden State just pulled the trigger. Lauri Markkanen is coming to the Bay, and the offense instantly looks bigger, cleaner, and harder to guard. Leave your like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next, because this is the kind of move that changes how April basketball feels. A 7-footer who shoots like a guard and runs like a wing, Markkanen stretches the floor to the logo, opens driving lanes for Steph, and gives Draymond a target that turns handoffs into dunks and pick and pops into automatic points. This is spacing you can feel corners stay honest, help arrives late, and the Warriors stop living in traffic. From the first possession, you'll see the difference. Steph comes off a high screen. The weak side can't tag because Markkanen is parked above the break, and the big has to choose between a pop three or a lob window for a cutting Kuminga. If the defense stays home, it's a downhill finish. If they stunt, Markkanen's feet are set and the jumper is pure. On the other end, his size on the glass and mobility in space let the Warriors switch late, keep the ball in front, and still contest at the rim. It's plug-and-play offense with playoff defense baked in. Let's translate that into simple basketball you'll recognize on your couch. Golden State flows into their bread-and-butter split action. Draymond at the elbow, Steph, and a guard screening for each other on the block. In past seasons, the help defender could pinch off the split because there was no true stretch five occupying the top. Now, Markkanen is waiting at 25 feet. If his man steps 1 foot too far into the lane, the kick is automatic and the shot is clean. If that defender stays glued, the split cutters get daylight and the layup line opens. No gimmicks, just geometry. The handoff game becomes a machine. Draymond's dribble handoff to Steph has always been coverages. Add Markkanen as the second passer in the chain, and you get a triangle of decisions that punishes every choice. Blitz the handoff, and a simple reversal to Lauri turns into a shot before the big can recover. Switch it, and the guard is now wrestling a 7-footer who can shoot over the top without ever putting the ball down. Show and recover, and you're a step late against the quickest release in basketball. The Warriors have lived on timing for a decade. Markkanen upgrades the clock. Pick and pop is the obvious headline, but the sneaky upgrade is in the cuts it unlocks. When a sender respects a pop threat, the low man is stranded. That means more backdoors for wings, more slot cuts for guards, and more short roll lobs when defenses scramble. Watch Kuminga in particular. He'll slice from the dunker spot into open air because the help that used to sit in his lap is now 2 steps farther away, terrified of giving up a clean 3, 2. A 7-footer. Transition picks up for free. Defensive rebounds that used to end in an outlet and a reset suddenly start with Markkanen pushing 1 dribble and pitching ahead to Steph or a wing, lifting to the corner. A big who can run and space drags his matchup into awkward territory rim. Protectors hate starting possessions at the arc, and Markkanen will force them to live there. Those first 6 points every quarter, the ones that feel easy, that's where titles hide. Lineups finally make sense on both ends. Go to the 5 out. Look, Steph, a pair of wings, Draymond, and Markkanen. The paint is empty, the elbows are open, and every cut has a lane. The defense now has to pick between switching and letting Steph dance with a big or Lauri shoot over a guard, or chasing through a maze of screens while the ball zips around. There's no safe answer because the floor is stretched in both directions. It's not small ball. It's smart ball. And when the game slows, Golden State's late clock problem solves itself. Too often in recent years, crunch time possessions died in crowds. With Lauri, the bailout is honest. Flow into a high drag. Pop to the top. Shoot if it's there. And if not, swing into a second action without panic because the spacing never collapses. You don't need a perfect set when your default shape is already dangerous. Defensively, the fit is about rules and discipline, not hero plays. Markkanen won't chase guards to half court, and he doesn't need to. He gives you 2 things that matter in the spring: verticality at the rim and a defensive rebound that ends possessions. The Warriors can switch late, keep Draymond as the roamer, and still have a 7-footer contesting the last shot. On nights when the opponent hunts mismatches, the answer is simple. Pre-switch, peel switch, keep the ball in front, and let the shot clock do the rest. With Lauri, those tiny adjustments matter because one extra contested pull-up per quarter is the difference between relief and regret. Let's talk specific matchups, because this is where you'll feel the value. Against Denver, Jokic wants to live in the paint and force rotations. Markin isn't a Jokic stopper, nobody is, but his spacing on the other end drags Jokic into uncomfortable territory. That steals a half step from Denver's help and turns Golden State's cuts into finish at the rim plays. Against Minnesota, Gobert can't camp in the lane. If he does, it's a pop three or a swing triple before he's back in the frame. Against Oklahoma City, Chet's length stops nothing if he has to cover ground from 27 feet to the rim and back. He'll be stuck choosing which fire to leave burning. And versus Dallas, forcing their bigs to guard horizontally takes away their favorite tactic, shrinking the floor on the strong side. And daring you to hit contested pull dash-ups. Rotation building is suddenly easy. Stagger Steph and Markin so one of them is always on the floor, and the second unit stops drowning. Put Lauri with the bench guards, and the offense has a North Star. Run Chicago action. Run pick and pop, run delay at the top with shooters lifting off the corners. Those possessions produce the kind of normal points that keep games within striking distance until the closers return. For the starters, the closing five draw themselves. Steph handling, Draymond orchestrating, Markin stretching, and two wings who defend and finish. Maybe that's Kuminga and a shooter. Maybe it's a defensive specialist and a glue guard. The exact names can change. The shape shouldn't. 2 ball handlers, 2 cutters, 1 stretch big. That shape has gravity built in. Now, the fun part for the X and O sickos. The playbook wrinkles this unlocks. Horns twist with Lauri popping on the second screen and Steph using Draymond as a short roll hub. Spain pick and roll with a twist. Markin sets the initial screen and then floats instead of rolling, while a guard back screens the big who is too busy worrying about Steph. Elevator doors come back not as a party trick, but as a counter to teams who overplay the corners. And the old 21 series, guard pick and roll into a handoff, finally has a third layer. When defenses cheat the handoff, the slip to Lauri is a layup. Even the inbound plays upgrade. End of quarter, sideline out, 1 second to shoot. Draymond screens, Lauri slips to space, Steph draws 2 eyes. And the 7-footer gets a clean look because the contest arrives from a hopeless angle. Coaches call those cheap points. In the playoffs, there's no such thing. Let's talk psychology, because winning time lives there. When a defense knows a big can't shoot, the back line plays free. They jump passing lanes, stifle cuts, and dare you to finish over a crowd. When a defense knows a 7-footer is a threat at the arc, the back line waits. Waiting on defense is death. It creates hesitation, late rotations, and fouls that turn into 2 free points. Markkanen makes defenses wait. He also makes scouting reports boring for opponents and beautiful for the Warriors. Every page starts with the same sentence. Do not help off Lauri at the top. That rule strangles a lot of creative schemes before they leave the locker room. It means fewer stunts at Steph, fewer digs at cutters, fewer early help footsies on Draymond's rolls. You win playoff series by removing options. Spacing removes options. Let's be honest about the weaknesses so we're speaking like grown-ups. Markkanen is not a heat-seeking shot blocker, and he isn't going to erase a guard in space. He doesn't have to. The Warriors have lived for a decade by playing 5 guys on a string. Lauri's job is to be huge where it counts, to contest with length without fouling, and to finish possessions by owning the glass. If he does those 3 things, his offense more than pays for the rest. The bench gets cleaner rolls too. With a true stretch big, you can play a defensive wing whose shot is streaky because the corners are honest anyway. You can hide a second unit. Guard by eliminating the scrambles that used to start when the paint was clogged and someone forced a hero drive. You can let a young big take spot minutes because the lineup spacing protects him from being swallowed by traffic. Roll clarity is production. The hidden gain you'll love. Fewer wasted timeouts. How many times did Golden State burn a timeout to steady a stuck possession? With Lauri, the default spacing often solves the possession before the whistle is even considered. Flow into high. Pick and pop, reverse, handoff, pop again, score. Coaches love conservative solutions that look aggressive on the floor. This is one. Pace is a word people misuse. Pace is not about sprinting every possession. It's about getting the good shots earlier in the clock. Markin increases real pace because his pop threes and quick reversals turn 18 seconds into 10. Without strain, that saves legs, and save legs decide back-to-backs in January and closeouts in May. There's a humility to Lauri's game that fits the Warriors' best version of themselves. He doesn't need to break rhythm to eat. He eats inside rhythm. That means Steph is still Steph, Draymond is still Draymond, and the young guys still get growth reps. It's an addition that expands the pie instead of slicing it thinner. Speaking of Steph, watch his shot dive become kinder. Fewer off-balance bailouts, more in-rhythm pull-ups because the screen defender can't sit in his lap. Watch his drives turn into smarter twos because the rim protector is hovering near the free-throw line, respecting a potential pick and pop. Steph has never needed help to be great. He's always used help to be unstoppable. Lauri is high-octane help. Draymond's joy returns in a very specific way. He loves making the right pass at the exact right time, and spacing turns those reads from tough into automatic. Back cuts, hammer passes, 45-degree cuts after a fake handoff. Every one of those choices becomes more rewarding when there's a 7-footer scaring the help 2 steps farther from the rim. If you want peak Draymond, give him space to see and passing windows to thread. This does both. Kuminga becomes a beneficiary by design. He can live in the dunker spot without suffocating the lane because Lauri's man won't abandon the arc. He can run the rim in transition because Markin will occupy the trailing big at the top. He can even attack as a screener in inverted actions where Steph slips out and Kuminga rolls into a vacuum. Athleticism is a superpower that needs runway. Markin clears the runway. For the young guards, life simplifies. The rulebook is short. Hit the first advantage, trust the swing, and shoot with your feet set. A stretch 5 punishes hesitation because the space remains clean through the entire possession. That's how you develop guards, give them reads that repeat, not puzzles that change every trip. Close gains. Final 3 minutes, everyone in the building knows what's coming. A Steph action. The difference now is that the decoy on the backside is a 40% three-point shooter at 7 feet tall. Corner stunts that used to bother the Warriors vanish because you can't leave Lauri. And if they do leave, the pass is on time. And the shot is in rhythm. That's not a hope. That's a plan. Now, a quick look at defensive scheme with Lauri on the floor. Expect more peel switching to protect the lane against downhill guards. Expect more late clock switching when the shot clock hits 8 and offenses panic. Expect Draymond to roam and bark, funneling drives toward length instead of into gaps. Expect defensive rebounding to stabilize because a real 7-footer boxes out the biggest body. Defense is not only steals and blocks, it's ending a play. So your stars can start the next one. We should also talk about fouls. A big who doesn't bite on every pump fake lowers team foul trouble quietly. Markin plays upright, contests high, and uses length to bother shots. You want free throws to drop. Take away the cheap ones. That discipline shows up by March when standings games ride on who got into the bonus first. One underrated benefit. 2-for-1 situations at the end of quarters. A pop 3 from Lauri at 27 feet is a clean way to start the clock and buy your team the last shot. Those extra 2 points each night look tiny until you realize they swing 4 or 5 wins a season. The locker room fit matters. The Warriors at their best have been joyful and ruthless, laughing through gorgeous offense and grimacing. through defensive stands. Markkinen's vibe matches that: run, space, keep the ball hot, contest without drama, and celebrate the pass. That led to the pass. Culture is a cliche until it produces a 10-2 stretch in February that no one can fully explain. This is the kind of mood that creates those stretches. There will be nights when the jumper isn't falling. Here's why the addition still works. The floor is honest anyway. Defenses don't gamble off proven shooters just because they missed 2 in a row. That means the spacing dividends keep paying while the touch returns. And for teams that try to call the bluff, the counter is paint touches and free throws. Simple, mean basketball. Coaching rhythm improves. Instead of hunting lineups desperately, the staff can move from Plan A to Plan B without abandoning identity. Plan A is 5 out with constant motion. Plan B is a pop-heavy pick-and-roll menu that punishes drop and switch. Plan C is a defensive tilt with length and size that dares opponents to shoot over contesting arms. The head coach sleeps better when all 3 plans share a spine. The fan experience changes too. Watching the Warriors has always been a lesson in timing and angle. Now it becomes a lesson in gravity, pressure, and release. You'll feel the arc of a possession from your couch. Steph draws 2. The ball flies to the top. Lauri lifts the defense stretches like a rubber band, and someone snaps to the rim. It's satisfying basketball because it makes sense at first watch. On the road, this travels. Noisy buildings don't bother spacing. Tired legs love easy points. A big who doesn't need the ball to matter is a luxury that only looks small until the fourth quarter of a back-to-back, when the game turns on a pop 3 that barely ripples the net. If you're wondering about contract math and roster slots, the headline is simple. This is the kind of move you make when you're serious about May and June. It costs, and it's worth it, because it aligns with the core's timeline and multiplies what your best player already does better than anyone alive. You're not chasing a name. You're building a shape. All this comes back to one idea. Give the greatest shooter ever more space and everything else becomes easier. Markkanen isn't a luxury add-on. He's a structural beam. He allows Golden State to play its language split. Cuts, handoffs, back cuts, pop 3s, without asking for a translation in the playoffs. That's the point. If you've been with this channel for a while, you know how we work. We don't just celebrate a name. We show you how it shows up on possession 34 on a Tuesday in January and possession 98 in Game 5 in May. With Lauri, it shows up everywhere. In the first quarter, when the second unit doesn't cough up a lead. In the third, when runs extend because 3s land in rhythm. And in the fourth, when the defense has to pick which fire to leave burning. That choice is the Warriors' edge. Before we close, a clear note that we always place at the very end. Because your time deserves honesty. As of right now, there is no official team announcement, no jersey photo, and no press release. This show has a rumors and speculation window where we break down the hottest moves on the board and give you our straight read on fit and impact. This is that segment, my personal take. I love this basketball. It's clean, it travels, and it lets Steph and Draymond play chess while everyone else plays checkers. If the signing becomes official, we'll translate the contract into plain language and chart the first 10 sets. They run with Markkanen so you can see the spacing pop on screen. If it swerves, we'll tell you exactly why. Either way, you leave, knowing how it would look and why it would win. And for me, that picture looks like April basketball that breathes.